Welcome, everyone. I'm Raj Kumar, President and Editor-in-Chief of Devex. Delighted and honored to be with you today for what is, I think, the highlight of my week, and I assume the highlight of everyone's week is joining today. This is an opportunity to honor Representative Nita Lowey, who has been a champion and a fighter for children all over the world, and someone that is so honored and respected, I know, by many, many people around the world, including many who are joining us in this session today. So welcome. Thank you for being a part of this today. I want to ask the Congresswoman, if she can, to turn on her camera. She is with us. Welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you very much. And as I look at all these names, friends I haven't seen in so long, Beth and Talia, well, I better not. I'll use all my time up. Matt Trout, Alice, so many good friends and my colleagues who are here. I really, Lois Frankel just got on too from Florida. And I know
it's an incredible group, Congresswoman. It really is. And you're going to hear from all of them. And we've got you for quite some time, but not too much. So I want to just make sure to dive right into what we have for all of you today.
I won't interrupt. You go ahead and dive.
No, you're doing the right thing. And Congresswoman Lowey, of course, needs no introduction to this group. But you might remember tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary of when she announced that she is retiring from Congress. And she has left an incredible legacy since she was first elected back in 1988 on so many issues. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. She's been a leader on pandemic response and health. On so many issues, she has left her mark. But one of the most important ones is around championing basic education all over the world. And certainly those of you who read our journalism at Devex have seen her name over and over and over again, pushing during briefings, holding members of the executive to account, and really fighting for children everywhere in the world. So a group of the organizations that push for these issues every day got together and wanted to host this event. They asked me to moderate it, which I'm so honored to do. And I just want to recognize them and thank them as we begin. The co-sponsors of this event today, Basic Education. Let's see, we have Basic Education Coalition, Education Cannot Wait, the Global Campaign for Education in the US, Global Citizen, Global Partnership for Education, Jesuit Refugee Service in the USA, Malala Fund, Results, Save the Children, UNICEF USA, World Learning, and World Vision. It's quite a coalition that has come together behind you, Representative Lowey, to thank you and honor you for the incredible work that you've done throughout your career on these issues and prioritizing them. And we really want to get a chance to hear from everybody today about why education is so important. It's such a force multiplier in our foreign assistance, and why it's so important that we have a priority and a strategy around it. Of course, because of you, we've got the first ever US government strategy on international basic education, which requires better coordination across all the agencies and regular reporting to Congress, and makes us focus our efforts on learning outcomes and actually the most vulnerable people in the world. So you've had an incredible career in so many ways, but specifically on education, on international basic education. Maybe you can say a few words, Congresswoman, to get us kicked off today.
First of all, I must tell you, it is a thrill seeing so many friends with whom I've worked for a long time. And I really want to thank you for organizing this event. What a pleasure it is to connect with so many friends and colleagues who have been champions for global education. And a happy birthday to Cricket Nikovich, who I understand helped to plan this wonderful event. If you show her the picture, we'll all wave to you. Let me just say, I'm sorry the pandemic is keeping us from gathering in person. As you know, I have been a staunch, strong supporter of education for children around the world throughout my career. And long before I was a member of Congress, I was a mother and a member of the PTA, whether through reading with my own children and grandchildren or visiting classrooms throughout my district. The power of education has always been evident. I have also visited classrooms around the world. That has always been a priority, where I've seen firsthand the outside impact of these programs. As we all know, access to quality education affects every aspect of development, from health to economic, to civic participation, to political stability. Education is truly the cornerstone of free and stable societies. It's true that I've often said, education is the single greatest force multiplier in foreign aid. It's why I have dedicated so much of my time in Congress to advocating for global basic education programs, and why I fought so hard for nearly 15 years, in fact, to get the READ Act across the finish line. It's why, as chairwoman of the State and Foreign Operations Subcommittee, I've continued to make basic education a priority. Record levels of funding for basic education of more than $800 million annually. I could go on, but in conclusion, I really am excited to hear from this distinguished group. So thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. I look forward to thanking you and hearing from you, and let the program go on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And the Congresswoman will be with us throughout. And I've asked her to keep her camera on so she can react. We won't have time for her to thank all of you in depth, but at least you'll get to see her smiling face as you make your remarks. We've got a number of members of Congress with us who are about to give their remarks, but first we have a very short video clip, a pre-recorded one from someone who really needs no introduction on these issues, and that's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Malala Yousafzai. So please, let's hear the tape.
Representative Lowey, I remember us meeting in 2017 on Capitol Hill. We discussed the barriers that prevent more than 130 million girls from their education, and also talked about what we can do to ensure all girls can go to school. I left that room with hope. There are still so many things that needs to be done. We need to ensure change in the education system, in the economies, in the political system that we live in, so it works for girls, not against them. I hope that everyone who is watching you, who's seeing you, continue the legacy that you have left us. There's so much that needs to be done, and I hope that women in the House and girls around the world follow your footsteps. I once again want to thank you for all the amazing work you have done. Congratulations on your retirement, and thank you so much for your service.
A minute to say thank you. I remember that meeting, and you were there, Malala, with your father as well. And I know how much your voice has meant to so many girls who are getting their education because of you. I hope we meet again. Thank you.
That was really beautiful. Representative Quigley, I think, is with us. If you'll turn on your camera, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, just a sec. Takes a while sometimes at our point. It's like a bad Saturday Night Live skit at some point. We're so clumsy. First, everyone on this call has two things in common. The notion of helping young people learn, and the realization that intelligence, curiosity, and talent is spread out equally, but opportunity is not. And I think the second thing that we all have in common is that you've all educated and inspired us. And, you know, when I think of your legacy, I think your colleagues, especially those that have come on recently and learned from you, are going to continue that tradition and do so much more. And I guess the second part of that legacy is all those kids that you help give opportunities to. When you think, it's exciting to me, so much of the world's talent and brilliance and creativity is bottled up. And when you turn it loose, it's not just about equality and fairness and justice, it's a great opportunity for the whole world to have that talent working to make it a better place. So as corny as all of that might sound, it is so fact-based. And, you know, for my part of this, you know, I plan to commit so much of my time to trying to help finish what you started with my extraordinary colleagues that are on this call with us. We're going to miss you so much. You're the best. God bless, and take care.
Thank you, Mike. I'm so moved by your words, and I'll keep my comments short, but we won't have time to get to all my colleagues, but I really appreciate it. And I know we're going to all keep in touch. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Representative Quigley. We've got Congresswoman Norma Torres with us too.
Thank you so much, Raj. So many are here today, from UNICEF to the incredible young activist, Malala Yousafzai, and so many of my colleagues, members of Congress, leaders in education, access. And we are all here to honor an inspiring Congresswoman, and that's Chairwoman Lowey. As a member of the State and Foreign Operations Subcommittee, I get the special opportunity to serve under Chairwoman Lowey's leadership and see firsthand her commitment to basic education. With the Chairwoman's support, the SFOG's appropriations bill has provided a record level of funding to basic education at $800 million. That's 8 times the funding level compared to 20 years ago. I have no doubt that many more children around the world have been able to learn because of this additional funding. And for that, we owe a huge amount of gratitude to Chairwoman Lowey. The Congresswoman has left us with an example to follow, especially in grave times like these. Children are facing school closures around the world due to COVID-19, resulting in potentially over 1 million children falling behind in their education. We know this can have a major negative impact on these children's lives, from their future incomes to future health outcomes, and even the lives of their future children. We must continue the Chairwoman's legacy and ensure children around the world have access to basic education, and in these circumstances, remote education as well. In closing, Chairwoman Lowey, you are leaving behind a great legacy. As the first woman to lead the important Appropriations Committee, you have cleared the path for more women to follow. You have made a tangible impact on the lives of many, many young people around the world because of your strong support for education. And you have made our country and the international community a whole lot safer and more prosperous because of your service on the Appropriations Committee. We will miss your leadership, but you are leaving us with a legislative foundation that will continue to strengthen our deeply interconnected world and support our children for a long time into the future. Congratulations on a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you so much, Nora. Since I'm limited in time, I'll keep my remarks very short, but I am so appreciative, and I really want to thank you very, very much for your kind words. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And Congresswoman Grace Meng is with us as well.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, everyone, for joining all of us today as we collectively thank Nita Lowey. And Nita, you are my chairwoman, my friend, my mentor. I can't imagine this institution, our committee, or the New York delegation without you. I've said so many times since I first came to Congress, long before you even announced that you would be retiring, that on a personal and professional level, when I grow up, I want to be like Nita Lowey. There are so many ways in which you've had a lasting impact on the lives of people, especially women and girls around the world. You've had such an impact on U.S. foreign assistance through your role as chairwoman and previously as SFOP's ranking member. But of course, at the top of this list has been your lasting legacy in providing and prioritizing basic education. You know better than most that investments in international education, especially in the earliest years, not only help teach kids to read and write, but also improve outcomes in all of our development assistance programs. Prioritizing education not only helps students learn and actualize their professional and personal dreams, and investments in education are correlated with a decrease in poverty, disease, hunger, incidents, gender-based violence, early marriage, and an increase in gender equality and in lifetime earnings. The list goes on and on. Beyond these tangible benefits, education is a basic human right, and you have centered this in your work. I want to thank you especially for our partnerships at the intersection of menstrual equity and basic education. Girls around the world are skipping schools because they don't have access to menstrual products or because their schools don't have sufficient sanitation facilities to make sure that girls have a place to use the bathroom when they have their period. We've made so much progress together on this issue, which is just one of the many ways you have worked to keep girls in school. So in the next Congress, know that you can count on us to keep making progress on the critical importance of basic education, whether for those impacted by COVID-19, those living in refugee camps for perhaps the entirety of their schooling years, those impacted by poverty or by natural disaster. This is your legacy, but we will all work together to keep the torch burning. Thank you, Nita.
Thank you, Grace. There is no question that you will continue to keep my activism and commitment to education alive and well, because I know how much you care about it. I think this is so exciting, but I'm going to miss seeing you all every day. I think I'll have to learn how to use these Facebook gimmicks and keep in touch. But in any event, thank you.
I have no doubt, Congresswoman, that if they drop the ball on this, they will be hearing from you, whether through Facebook or some other way. Congresswoman Lois Frankel, I think you're with us.
Okay, I am. Well, hello. It's great.
Hi, Lois Frankel. Is it beautiful in Miami?
It's hot. It's very hot. Anyway, thank you. Listen, it's great to be with you. And I'm going to start by adopting all the well-deserved compliments describing one of the finest people I know. As Maya Angelou would say, Nita, you are a phenomenal woman. You're full of astounding energy, smarts, a loving heart, and toughness with a lot of gracefulness. and it's been one of the highlights of my congressional career, serving with you on the House Appropriations Committee and State Foreign Ops Committee, where with your leadership, we fund our values that celebrate our diversity, our humanity, and interconnectedness. Now, Nita, you know that before the pandemic, I was a world traveler. And one of my favorite trips was to a small village in Malawi where I saw the joy of elementary age girls in schools in their small basic classroom. But I also heard in dismay the heartbreaking stories of older girls who were afraid to walk miles to a secondary school because of fear of rape or assault. And I also traveled to Nigeria with my friends Frederica Wilson and Sheila Jackson Lee following the brutal kidnapping of 176 young girls by the Boko Haram terrorists. There, I heard the stories of families devastated by that act of horror. And those trips helped me understand even better the passion and dedication of my dear friend Nita, of the importance of getting and keeping girls in school. So Nita, as it's been said by my wonderful colleagues before, you leave a legacy and a mission that myself and others are committed to continuing, including getting that bipartisan Keeping Girls in School Act passed. And then, Nita, on a personal note that probably only you and I will appreciate. And for you, here it goes. Ga green team, ga green team. You're the only team that we adore. When it's all over, we'll be in clover as a team racks up the score. So listen, so for people who don't understand that, Nita and I went to the same summer camp as children, and we have very fond memories, and we want all the children of the world to grow up with fond memories. Nita, love you. I wish you the best on your next journey.
Thank you so much, and I love you. I'm glad you didn't say that we were at that camp at different times. You came a little after that. But anyway, thank you so very much. I appreciate it, and we will all keep in touch, I know.
That was beautiful, Congresswoman, and we encourage singing at this event. Anybody else, this is your moment. I think Congressman David Price is with us.
Hi, Dave.
Yes, you shouldn't expect any singing, but I'm really happy to join and to see Nita and to see all these colleagues and to be part of this heartwarming event. Put on by some remarkable organizations. I want to say just a word about the organizations. And Nita and I came to Congress at a time when it was often said that there just wasn't a very strong constituency out there for foreign aid. There were plenty of individuals and organizations who cared about it and worked on it. But what has happened in the last couple of decades with this list of organizations sponsoring today has really made that an obsolete observation, because we hear plenty from you, and we have lots of information, and we have lots of advocacy, and it's just wonderful to have this kind of support community going for foreign aid. And so I appreciate that, and I certainly appreciate this occasion that you put on here today. These are well-deserved accolades, Nita. You have been a champion of so many enlightened positions in international development, foreign aid, but especially with respect to education, and especially with respect to the education of girls and women. We've shared service on the full appropriations committee and on the foreign operations subcommittee, so I've seen close up how effective you are, and particularly how much you care about this issue, which is your brand, really. I mean, you're the person in the Congress who's most associated with international education efforts, ensuring that children in conflict settings have access to education, passing the READ Act, ensuring that international basic education programs receive robust funding in the Congress. And this has just been something that would not be where it is today. It would not be advancing the way it is now. And of course, there's a lot yet to do, but you have brought us thus far, and you also help us understand what the next steps need to look like. So I want to commend you. I want to close by maybe a couple of more general observations, more personal observations. On this appropriations leadership, though, and especially in the area of foreign aid, you have been a champion in tough times. And you have helped us actually get bipartisan support in a time when the budget submissions just couldn't have been worse. You've helped us get bipartisan support for robust foreign aid efforts. And it has been important to me that you've appreciated the full range of those efforts. For example, the work we're doing with the House Democracy Partnership, you've been fully supportive of that, and I'm grateful for that, not just financially, but always showing an interest in what we're doing, reaching out member to member, staff to staff with these parliaments in emerging democracies, helping them realize their capacity and helping learn together with them. That's been an effort that you've understood and supported from the beginning, and I'm very grateful. I also want to say, and Lisa's sitting here with me, you're great to travel with. You and Steve have been great traveling companions as we visited lots of interesting and important places in the world, and have learned a great deal. And we're gonna miss you in that respect, quite personally. And that leads to my final comment, and that is to express an appreciation for just the colleagueship and the kind of mutual interest and mutual discovery that we've engaged in the time of our mutual service. You know, Nita's someone who always shows up at Aspen. She always shows up over at Rosa's dinners. And that's not just because she likes a good breakfast. It's because Nita has always been a person who understood that we have a lot to learn. She's never been a person who knows it all. She's always been a person who soaks up information, who soaks up knowledge, who is eager to test ideas and to have dialogue with colleagues. And goodness knows, in the US Congress, we need more of that. And in the area of international affairs, we need more of that openness, more of that curiosity, more of that willingness to engage. I just think that's been a hallmark of Nita's service, and it's something I value very much in a colleague and in her in particular. So I want to say that that quality of always being willing to learn and always being willing to test new ideas and understanding that promoting democracy, promoting the well-being of our fellow human beings internationally is always a work in progress, and always something that we will have to be seeking to better. That is, I think, the hallmark of your approach to these things, and I value it very much. And we're going to miss you. We really have learned from you, though, and been inspired by you, and your legacy will remain with us.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Lisa. I'm glad and honored that Lisa's here as well. You can just wave, Lisa. Good to see you. Hi. You know, I would answer these magnificent comments more fully, but I know that there are those who are keeping time on the program. I just want to say, David, that Steve and I have really appreciated the friendship with you and Lisa, and certainly Aspen trips have enriched our lives in the Congress. And I know your democracy trips have been invaluable to you and to all the people who share them with you. So thank you so much. And I hope we're going to stay in touch, because the friendships and all the people who have spoken here are among the best people I could ever want to share my time with. And that's going to be the most difficult time leaving the Congress. So I would say more, but I know I have to watch my time here. So thank you, David.
And we do have one more member of Congress with us here right now, and that's, of course, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro. Please, Congresswoman, take it away.
Hey, Rosa.
I think you're muted. You're muted, Congresswoman. Congresswoman, we don't hear you yet.
Am I okay?
There you go.
I hear you.
I love you, my dear. I really do.
I love you too.
And I say, Lois, great, but keep your day job, Lois, okay? You're singing, you're great. It was so wonderful. And listening to David and Mike and Grace and Norma, you know, you need to know how loved you are, Nita Lowey. You're really, really amazing. I'm so honored to join my colleagues and the leaders and the members of Results, you know, all of you fighting to eradicate poverty, you know, just world learning, who are, you know, the better future through education and through exchange programs. You know, what a joy to be able to speak to the work, but to the values and the impact of a dear friend. Yes, and the first female appropriations chair, and what a job you have done. You know, there really isn't enough that can be said about the quality of fearlessness that Nita Lowey has, and that's been demonstrated throughout her career in the Congress and beyond. She made, and Nita, you have made the nation and the world a far better place because of that commitment to quality education, both here in the United States. When I think of after-school programs, when I think of your care about what we do and your love of what goes on in labor HHS, and to the opening of that pathway to prosperity of every corner of this earth. And Mike Quigley, co-founder of the Bipartisan International Basic Education Caucus, you know his comments and agrees that few have done as much for global education as Congresswoman Nita Lowey. And what she did atop that position of leadership of appropriations, she pushed the edge of the envelope to make things happen in this area, and it's her values that brought this to bear. A long history, a rich history. David mentioned the READ Act, 2004. She first introduced it, reinforced it, Education Accountability and Development Act, create a plan, a strategy, a leadership structure within our international aid apparatus, improve the learning outcomes for young people abroad, especially those who are marginalized and vulnerable populations, to achieve a world where education empowers individuals everywhere to prosper. 2017, Congresswoman Lowey's bill becomes law. 2018, U.S. government released its first ever strategy on international basic education. Her commitment continues. In April, she joined with Congressman Quigley and Congressman Fitzpatrick to urge USAID to prioritize resources for distance learning in U.S. foreign aid and following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. They reminded the administration that education is not a nicety, but a necessity, and that it should be reflected as such in our commitments both at home and abroad. I'm going to close, but then I have to say a personal thing as well. To close, I want to quote a hero of mine, Senator Robert Kennedy, who said, and I quote, "We must recognize the full human equality of all for the single and fundamental reason that it is the right thing to do." In her bold, brave, and bipartisan work on international education, Nita Lowey did just that, the right thing to do. She has made the world a better place through basic education because it was the right thing to do. It's our job to follow your example, Nita, and yours to make sure that we do. You know, on the vital issue as global primary education is, we cannot take no for an answer. Nita Lowey never took no for an answer. And that chair in my living room where Nita Lowey has been at those dinners will always be the Nita Lowey chair.
I may come back.
And I will recall just very one sentence here. All those years ago, Nita Lowey and I met, I think it was in Stanford. We came halfway to one another. And at the time, Nita Lowey asked me if I would consider managing her campaign. And I said, I would love to do it, except I'm thinking about running myself. So we have been joined at the hip. I love you. I will miss you with all of our conversations and all of our travels. You are a treasure and you are a mentor and a guide for all of us, Nita Lowey. God bless you and your beautiful, beautiful family. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of this today, Raj. Thank you.
Rosa, there is so much I could say, but I won't leave time. The people who are managing the program and those special dinners at your house, Mike. I may just show up and knock on the door and say,
"You're always
hey,
invited, and Steve."
Right. Thank you so much.
Well, listen, I know everyone here is at least virtually in our living rooms and kitchens giving you a great round of applause to all the members of Congress who came out here today. Thank you for doing this. It has just been fantastic. You can turn off your cameras now. I do want to mention that we had some members of Congress, of course, it's a busy time on the Hill, who couldn't join, but put in some videos, and we've got a very short clip we want to show to everyone here from the members who weren't able to be here. Go ahead.
I had the pleasure of working closely with Ms. Lowey during her distinguished service as chair and ranking member of the State and Foreign Operations Subcommittee. And for the last 2 years, it's been an honor to serve alongside her as she has chaired the full Appropriations Committee. I learned so much from Mrs. Lowey over the years as we traded off being chair and ranking member. One of the issues that she brought to my attention is how important it is to invest in educating women and girls around the world. Improvements in basic education would not have been possible without Nita's tireless efforts and insistence that funding was prioritized, regardless of who was in the White House. For Nita, it was about more than just the money. She pressed to make sure our investments delivered results. Our Master of Ceremonies, Malala, shares Mrs. Lowey's passion for this cause. I recall when Mrs. Lowey and I met with Malala in 2015, when I was chair of the State and Foreign Operations Subcommittee. We were moved by Malala's story and her commitment. We were determined to keep education funding levels high and make sure the programs worked. I thank the organizers of this event for honoring the dedication of my distinguished colleague, the first woman to chair the House Appropriations Committee, Congresswoman Nita Lowey. She's an outstanding leader in her own right who made it possible for women and girls around the world to lead better lives. Because of her efforts, future generations will be able to receive a quality education and they'll not have to experience poverty. Thank you again for allowing me to honor Mrs. Lowey today. It's rare that someone can touch so many people in such a meaningful way.
I want to thank you for giving me a chance to toast my good friend and colleague, my chairwoman, Chairwoman Nita Lowey, for her service and commitment to our country and, yes, to the entire world. Chairwoman Lowey is a trailblazer in every way, serving as the first woman chair of our powerful House Appropriations Committee. Now, as a member of the State and Foreign Operations Appropriations Subcommittee, which Congresswoman Lowey also chaired, I saw firsthand her commitment to the issue of global basic education and to girls' education, and how it was guided by how she valued the future potential of children, as I said, especially girls, around the world. For over 3 decades, Chairwoman Lowey has fought for global peace, for women, for children, and families. She has remained a steadfast and effective advocate for a humane and generous American role in the world, especially through her work to expand education, focused on creating opportunity for millions of girls around the world. I have had the privilege to travel abroad with Chairwoman Lowey many times, and I have seen the excitement in our girls' eyes as they meet her and as Chairwoman Lowey hugs them and tells them that they do have a future. Her leadership has given us a really powerful example of how much we can accomplish when we work together, whether it's in the fight against HIV and AIDS, civilians in conflict, or yes, building true diplomatic partnerships around the world. She and her staff have always worked tirelessly to accommodate a diverse set of viewpoints and still at the end of the day, set clear, unified direction about United States priorities. While she will be greatly missed, and I will miss her so much, she's been such a mentor and friend. It's imperative that we carry on her work and her legacy by protecting and advancing global basic education initiatives around the world. Every child deserves a chance at success.
Chairwoman Lowey is a master legislator and expert appropriator whose values-based leadership have improved countless lives in New York State, across America, and throughout the world. Through her tremendous service on the House Appropriations Committee, including as the historic chairwoman, as well as through her chairpersonship of the Subcommittee on State and Foreign Operations. Nita Lowey has dedicated herself to securing record investments in key priorities for the American people and the global community, including women's health and girls' education. Her heroic dedication may be what we will miss the most in the next Congress without Chairwoman Lowey. But I know that her career's worth of efforts to make things better will continue to inspire us to advance her ideals, including access to basic first-rate education for children and young people throughout the globe. Beyond the halls of Congress, Chairwoman Lowey's legacy will carry on through generation after generation.
Well, that was fantastic, and not surprising how many people have come out to support you, Congresswoman Lowey from the Hill. You have so many friends there, and I know there are many, many more who would be here if they could, but we have to move on now in the program to some members of civil society, some leaders and other institutions who want to say a few words about you as well, Congresswoman. I will ask that they keep it particularly short. We are, maybe not surprisingly, behind schedule already with all the great stories that have been shared. So we're going to need the next folks who speak to please keep it very, very short if they can, just a minute or two. I think first we've got a pre-record, which is coming from Julie Cram, who is the Senior Coordinator of U.S. International Basic Education Assistance over at USAID.
Hello, I'm Julie Cram, Deputy Assistant Administrator at USAID. I'm excited to join so many leaders and advocates in celebrating Congresswoman Lowey for her work in promoting global education. This moment is so well deserved. Congresswoman Lowey has a long history of championing international education and supporting USAID. It is actually because of Congresswoman Lowey's efforts that I am here today, since I proudly serve as the U.S. Government Senior Coordinator for International Basic Education Assistance. I have worked over the past 3 years to implement the READ Act, vital legislation which aimed to increase accountability and improve the quality of education. When we were first brought together, all 10 agencies, to begin drafting the U.S. government strategy, we realized it was the first time we had all sat around the table together to discuss our international education efforts. It is Congresswoman Lowey's forward thinking and dedication that brought us all together, and we thank her for it. And because of her leadership and support, we are achieving real results for children and youth around the world. Just in the last year, the U.S. government has provided more than 34 million students with opportunities to learn literacy, numeracy, and other basic skills, including learning in local languages. We've reached more than 14.5 million children and youth affected by crisis and conflict, and provided more than 892,000 individuals with continued education, vocational, and other workforce training. And, critically, we've educated at least 12 million women and girls in formal and non-formal settings. We couldn't ask for a stronger supporter in Congress to champion global education, and we will miss you. As USAID leadership has noted recently in testimony to Congress, throughout your time in Congress, you have promoted the transformative power of education. You've also paid special attention to children living in conflict and crisis situations, and you've worked tirelessly to provide them with access to educational services. Your work has created tools and rallied resources that provide hope for generations at great risk. You may be stepping away from Congress, but your legacy will live on through the millions of people whose lives you have lifted. Congresswoman Lowey, this is an outstanding legacy that you are leaving behind. On the eve of your retirement from Congress, I hope that these are results you can be proud of. We can't thank you enough. Congratulations and good luck.
Well, a big thanks to Julie Cram. And I think we have live with us Alice Albright, the CEO of the Global Partnership for Education. Alice, I see you there. Can we turn it over to you?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. Let me be very quick. Hi, Congresswoman Lowey. So many previous speakers have highlighted how Mrs. Lowey's extraordinary leadership and unwavering commitment to ensuring that every young person, particularly girls and the most vulnerable, have had access to a quality education. That leadership and unflagging commitment have led to real outcomes in the world's poorest countries. Mrs. Lowey has also been a steadfast champion for working with other countries and multilateral organizations, including the organizations that I lead, the Global Partnership for Education, to ensure that opportunities for learning are expanded to the fullest extent. The number of children out of primary school has been cut in half during Mrs. Lowey's tenure. Under Mrs. Lowey's leadership and with the Global Partnership of Education since 2002, together we have helped partner countries enroll an additional 82 million more girls into school. Hundreds of thousands of teachers have been trained in developing countries, many of them women, over the past 10 years. However, looking forward, there remains much to be done over the years ahead. The Global Partnership for Education, along with the entire international education community, must continue to be inspired and driven by Mrs. Lowey and new champions in Congress for global education to accelerate progress for our children and our young people. Education systems must be strengthened and transformed if they are to meet the needs of coming generations. And we in the education community must work even closer together at global and country level to deliver on the promise of a quality education for every child. We must work as Nita Lowey has worked, day in and day out, tirelessly. Thank you so much for your leadership. One of my favorite times in my job is when I get to come up to the Hill to visit with you and learn so much from you. I will miss seeing you in your current situation, but I hope we can stay in touch going forward. My best wishes for a wonderful retirement, and thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alice. Yasmin Sarif is with us. Yasmin, please, the Director of Education Cannot Wait.
Hello. From Education Cannot Wait, I would like to extend a most heartfelt thank you to you, Representative Lowey, for all that you have done for education and for us, very importantly, for children and youth whose education has been disrupted because of conflict, because of displacement, as refugees, internally displaced, girls being marginalized, and children with disabilities simply because they live in conflict and crisis. Now, one of my favorite, American reformer in the education sector, Horace Mann, he once said, education is a great equalizer of the condition between human beings. And this is especially true in war and natural disasters and in pandemics, but not everyone sees that. But you, Representative Lowey, you were able, you insightfully, through your passion, through your intelligence, through your commitment, you understood the importance of reaching children and youth in war and deliver quality education to them, and to champion for that right, even though you are left furthest behind in the most difficult of circumstances. You were an early advocate for Education Cannot Wait when we became operational only 3 years ago, and stood up and spoke for us. You first met, of course, with our champion, Rachel Brosnahan, when she came to meet with you in DC. And she briefed on the situation for the Venezuelan refugees. And immediately you listened and you felt compassion and you took action. And you spoke about Education Cannot Wait and the plight of the refugees and the displaced in Congress, and got the American Congress with you. You're a leader that gets everyone to follow just by your sheer passion and knowledge and insight. And then I had the privilege to meet with you earlier this year and to thank you in person for all the support that you provided in the cause of children and youth affected by armed conflict and the right to education. We are sad to see you go and to retire, because we have been ignited by your passion and your commitment and support. And I would like to remind you, should you tire of being retired, remind you of the invitation that is still standing. anytime you get tired of retirement, let us know, and we would love to take you with us on our missions when we travel to Afghanistan, to Chad, Central African Republic, or Colombia to meet with the refugees. Because I'd love you to meet the 3.6 million children whose education has been made possible in this most difficult of circumstances, thanks to your leadership and thanks to your empathy and passion and commitment to education for those left furthest behind. But until then, I wish you all the very best on behalf of Education Cannot Wait, and together with my colleagues in GPE and across the civil society community, a wonderful retirement. And your legacy will live on and stronger than ever. It is with us always. Thank you so very much, Representative Lowey.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Thank you so much for that message. Henrietta Fore is with us, of course, the Executive Director of UNICEF. Lovely to see you, Henrietta.
Hi,
Thank you,
Henrietta.
Hi, Nita. And Nita, I got to tell you my formal part of my remarks, so I'm just going to end. This with a personal note. So you really did set the example of public service for all of us as women, as administration individuals, as women on the Hill. It was an extraordinary legacy. And Nita, you made the world a better place, and there are millions of lives helped because of you. So can I just say on a personal note that it has been a joy to work with you. It's been an honor and a privilege. You are one of the great lionesses of the Hill, and it has been magnificent. We don't really think that you're retiring. We think you're just relocating. So come see us in New York and we'll put you back to work. We know your love of education will remain undimmed. So with lots of love from me and UNICEF.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henrietta. Joanne Carter is here, the Executive Director of Results.
Yeah, thanks so much. Hi. And just to say, it's an honor, if a somewhat sad one, to get to acknowledge you as such a remarkable champion and the impact that you've had on literally hundreds of millions of lives of women and children. And first, I gotta say, I bring the gratitude and the enthusiastic admiration that you know so well from Results grassroots advocates from all across the US. And just to say they love and admire your resolute commitment in fighting for the most vulnerable kids and families, you know, kids in impoverished communities and kids discriminated against because of their gender or ethnicity or caste, and the children and families that have been traumatized and displaced by conflict. And, you know, education is such a powerful tool in the fight against poverty and inequity, but it's not only that. And you have understood and acted on that understanding that for so many kids, school is a place of safety, of support, and really of hope. We've been proud as Results, as part of the Global Campaign for Education in the US, to help build support across the Congress for basic education. But so much depends on having the champions who will lead, and there has never been a greater champion in Congress for every child's right to education than you, Chairwoman Lowey. So I just say, we've already talked about what you've accomplished over the last decades, but I want to say two things. One is for FY21, we hope to see $975 million in the very appropriately named Nita M. Lowey Basic Education Fund. And I also want to say a special thank you, because while we're celebrating your legacy, you haven't stopped fighting for the needs of vulnerable communities. And we're so grateful that the latest HEROES Act in the COVID relief package now includes billions for a global response to this global pandemic, including funding for global health, nutrition, and of course, education. So we celebrate all that you've made possible, the impact you've had on so many lives. Thank you for being such a relentless champion. We will miss you a great deal, and we will keep fighting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanne. And I know we are running a bit late here, but stay on if you can. The Congresswoman is with us. She will stay with us through these comments. I want to welcome now Joan Rosenhauer, who is the Executive Director of the Jesuit Refugee Service.
Hello, everyone. Congresswoman Lowey, on behalf of Jesuit Refugee Service USA, I want to express what a pleasure and an honor it is to be a part of this tribute to you today. All of us who work in the humanitarian field know how urgent the needs are among children. How can we hope to have a better future for any of us if we allow millions of children around the world to go without stability and the life preparation that they get from going to school every day? Representative Lowey, you and your staff have been critical partners in JRS's work to ensure that all refugee children have access to quality education. Of the 7.4 million school-aged refugees in the world today, only 52% are in school. We have much more work to do. But this number has increased significantly over the years, thanks to a great extent to your efforts. From taking the lead on passing the READ Act, to prioritizing education for young people caught in conflicts and crises, to supporting US government funding for Education Cannot Wait. You have been at the forefront of advancing these important issues. Thank you for all that you have done, and like many others, all that I hope you will continue to do in your retirement in support of the millions of children around the world who are waiting for their chance to gain an education.
Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Joan. And we have Carol Jenkins, the CEO of World Learning, with us.
Hello, Nita. On behalf of World Learning, I would like to express my heartfelt congratulations to you, Congresswoman Lowey, on your truly remarkable career in public service, for always prioritizing people over partisanship, and for your steadfast commitment to ensuring access to quality education for millions of children around the world. I remember fondly time spent with you and your husband, Steve, near our campus in Vermont. The passion both of you expressed for experiential education and international exchange was inspiring and validating. At World Learning, we wholeheartedly share your belief that education is the greatest force multiplier in foreign aid. Your leadership and achievements are an inspiration to all of us who work in this field. We are committed to carrying on your legacy by continuing to support efforts to remove the barriers and increase the quality of education for all children. We definitely have our work cut out for us with all that is happening today, but because of you, we're not disheartened. We are inspired to work with our partners, including USAID, and are more determined than ever to meet this challenge together. Nita, you are a role model to me and to so many others. Undoubtedly, we will never be able to quantify the lives you have changed for the better, now and for decades to come. Thank you again, and best wishes for your retirement.
Thank you.
We have one final message from a civil society leader, Yanti Saripto, who is, of course, the CEO of Save the Children in the US.
Chairwoman Lowey, on behalf of the more than 100 million kids in over 100 countries that Save the Children reaches every year, thank you. Your dedication to ensuring that women and children around the world survive and thrive is extraordinary. There are so many things to mention, but I will focus on just a few. First, we are grateful for your leadership in ensuring children's access to quality education, particularly for the world's most vulnerable children. The READ Act was an historic piece of legislation that helped shape the future of US global education policy. We appreciate your focus on ensuring that children living in humanitarian crises have access to education as well, including your leadership on House Resolution 277. Funding for critical mechanisms such as Education Cannot Wait has literally been life-saving. You've introduced important legislation to ensure girls stay in school through the Keeping Girls in School Act. And when you introduced this legislation, you said, educating young women and girls is one of the best ways to help alleviate poverty and promote stability around the world. We couldn't agree more. Secondly, your work to support women and girls' health has also been critical, helping to close the gap on global health workforce shortages, supporting programs to end preventable maternal and child deaths, and championing reproductive rights and health. Chairman Lowey, thank you for dedicating your career to helping children have a better future. We are grateful to have had such a dedicated partner and leader in this effort. I know I speak for all of Save the Children when I say you will be deeply missed.
Thank you.
Well, those were fantastic comments from our civil society leaders. And we're almost at the end here. We're going to hear from Representative Lowey in just a moment. But one part of the program that I know many of us are really excited about comes now, which is a short video clip from some youth advocates around the world. So let's hear from them.
Hi everyone, this is Lamia from Bangladesh. I am 60, a child activist and a student of 11th standard. I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to say something on behalf of all children of Bangladesh. My special thanks to our beloved Nita Lowey, US Senator, to initiate such a good and effective event to promote and ensure child well-being and child rights to all, and especially for the most vulnerable children all over the world. Long live Nita, your action has always created a wave till this far, which are very admirable and is inspiring for a girl child like me. You have saw my house is surrounded by full of slum. So here, due to lack of education, most of the girls get married forcibly at the age of 14 to 17. Some of my neighbors also try to motivate and almost influence my family for my marriage, but my parents are determined to let me continue my study. It is sad to say that approximately 50% girls get married before 80 and 12% child are doing child labor, and many other child are facing violence by mentally or physically. And as a child activist, I know the bad effect and the impact of child marriage and violence. I truly believe that if a child gets quality education, he or she will be able to stand on her own feet, become independent and solve her problems. If a girl gets up-to-date education, she will be able to stop her child marriage and doing child labor and violence above her will be decreased. Some of organizations like Coalition Bangladesh, Save the Children and UNICEF have also taken some major steps to stop child marriage, child labor and violence. I think that the vital cause of child marriage, child labor and violence is the socio-economy of the most vulnerable children. Like in our area, World Vision is doing that work. They are providing education materials and livelihood to the most vulnerable families, and as a result the vulnerable families are sending their children to school. Like in all those areas where World Vision is working, in those areas the child marriage have been stopped. So at this time I would like to cordially request to government organization and other private sectors to come forward, extend their support to the most vulnerable families and ensure the child educations. Before we end, I will pray for all those people who are working to establish and ensure child education. And I would like to say something for those people who are still discriminating girls and boys, that a girl doesn't need wings to fly, she needs freedom. If you give freedom to the girl, she will prove herself.
Well, that was great, and I know it must bring back memories for Congresswoman Lowey. You've made so many trips around the world and gotten to meet so many young people, young activists like the one we just heard from in Bangladesh. I know we have as well with us some staffers from your team, and actually, did we want to hear from them now?
Raj,
yep.
We have another part of the video.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
بلبنان جمعية وورد ليرنينج بتشتغل على تدريب الأساتذة على تحسين أداء مستوى الطلاب بالمدارس الرسمية من خلال مشروع كفاية. هيدا المشروع ما كنا لمسناه لو ما دعم السيدة لوي وتفهم الكونغرس الأمريكي لأهمية العملية التعلمية للجيل الصاعد.
Hello, my name is Shritina Lapa and I am a student fellow with the Global Campaign for Education, or GCEUS, and a graduate student at the George Washington University where I am studying international affairs. Thank you, Representative Lowey, for being a great leader and for inspiring me to become an advocate to ensure education for all. In your time in Congress, you not only gave millions of children around the world the opportunity to learn, but you have also encouraged young people to speak out on their behalf. To build on your legacy, I would like to thank all of you for the opportunity to speak on what I believe must be improved regarding education. As we have seen from the COVID-19 pandemic, many issues have come to light and continue to worsen. In my research, I have identified 3 priority areas that must be addressed to improve education. The first is addressing racial injustice and inequalities. Students of color are disproportionately affected and face many challenges in classrooms, including lack of cultural competency and seeing teachers who look like them. The second is gender inequalities. Now more than ever, there is a record high number of young women and girls out of school globally, many of which may not be able to return after the pandemic. And finally, resources for students must be improved and made a top priority in order to ensure that learning does not stop when schools are closed. Many students are falling behind in their curriculum because they lack internet access. Providing adequate resources is even more critical when it comes to students with disabilities around the world who face additional challenges in distance learning. Inclusive education must be considered and adequately funded. I hope moving forward that we continue to raise our voices to make sure that everyone has the right to quality, inclusive education, and that schools are safe, healthy, and a place that allows young people to grow, flourish, and learn. On behalf of the Global Campaign for Education and advocates around the world, thank you, Representative Lowey, for your years of dedication and leadership to ensure education for all.
All right, well, those were fantastic messages, Congresswoman. And I understand we have 11 staffers of yours who are on here, and they want to just indicate their incredible support to you. We're gonna, I think, get to see them quickly if we can do that.
Liz. Hi, Liz.
That is fantastic. Yeah, there are so many people and many more than what you've seen here today who can want to be a part of expressing this.
Ages. Hi, Maren. Hi, Steve. Hey, Beth. Hey, Aaron. Hi, Michelle. Oh, my. Ann Vaughn and Matt Traub and Lucy Heenan. Ooh, what a pleasure. You know, I've always said, this job is an extraordinary job, and it gives every member of Congress an opportunity to soar, to do all kinds of important things. But without an incredible staff, and this is just part of an incredible staff, I've been very, very lucky. And Aaron, who didn't I mention? I think I mentioned Ann and Aaron. I've been very lucky to have a group of men and women who really care, who work hard, and help me do the important work I've been able to do. So thank you to all the staff, those that I could see, those that I can't see. I really appreciate you all. And if we got rid of this COVID, maybe we can even have a party.
Wouldn't that be nice? I know that this group would be the first, the first in the door if we could do that. So much love and support in this room and in this virtual event. Congresswoman, any final thoughts as we wrap up here from you?
Well, let me just say, I can't tell you how much this means to me. I am so touched and honored. And I would especially like to thank my colleagues, Mike, Norma, Grace, Lois, David, Rosa, Kay, Barbara, Hakeem. But none of the achievements were made alone. Everyone here today and those who shared videos care deeply about ensuring that children everywhere have an opportunity to receive a good education. All of us have kept the momentum going in this effort. I am genuinely so grateful for the work that all who appeared today do and continue to do. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that still so much more needs to be done. I am very concerned about how pandemic-related school closures disrupt education for more than 1 billion children and young people, and the devastating impact this could have on the progress we've made over the last several decades. I know you share this dire concern, and I'm so heartened that you are working together to mobilize a remarkable response in unprecedented times. You are the heroes. You are making an impact in the lives of millions, both now and for years to come. So let's just say it's important that everyone who said such wonderful things today keep raising their voices to advocate for children and the resources they need to have opportunities to grow and thrive. And I want you to know how much I appreciate your efforts. You inspire me, and the world is better for your contribution. But while I'm retiring at the end of this term, please know I will continue to champion global education. And I know that all of you will too in all the days ahead. So thank you so much for appearing. Thanks so much for all you've done. You're part of my life, and I look forward to staying in touch and continue to fight the good fight together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I know everybody is virtually applauding all over the world, the people who are following this, and a big thanks to the group who organized this. It's really an honor to be asked to facilitate this discussion. And it's so nice to have a positive moment in this time. Of course, advocates, you do your job every day, pushing and saying what's wrong and what needs to be fixed, but it's great to look at what works and what has worked, and to see what one leader like you, Congresswoman, can do when you commit your life and your efforts and your talent to something important, as I know everyone on this call does every day. So it is just inspiring to be a part of it, and wonderful to see you and to congratulate you on so much impact in your career, Congresswoman. It is really an honor. So thank you to the organizers, thank you to everyone, and be well.
Thank you for being the masters of ceremonies. We appreciate you.
My great pleasure. My great pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.